to bring the baby. My wife has already vetoed that.
No. You
What?
don't bring the baby.
What?
No, not to. No,
What?
no.
He's been to flag football. He's been to countless CYO baseball and basketball games already.
You're talking about 70,000 people.
So what? He just got all the shots.
Loud.
Oh, my God,
no,
dude.
no.
The little guy crying all night,
With the
Saturday
shots.
and Sunday. The shots, man. He's all – you can see everybody, but, man, he's just –
Welcome.
My little guy dead silent during the day.
Welcome to fatherhood, my friend.
At night, this dude's up like an owl. Andre Nicotino on line one.
A guy who doesn't get much sleep, but he does a phenomenal job. I didn't see no bags under his eyes all weekend long on NBC Sports. Ahmed Fareed, our old friend out here in the Bay Area. Giants pre and post, remember him, Shasky?
I do. But you know why he doesn't have any bags? He doesn't have to cape up for the Giants. That's why.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that.
Probably getting
Good morning.
great sleep.
No, don't do that. That's not fair. That's not fair. Ahmed, what's going on, man? Good morning.
Bonte, Joe, what's happening? You know what they do? They put a lot of this white stuff under my eyes. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's called. But when I sit in that chair and I get out of that chair, I have no more dark circles or bags under my eyes. So it's magic.
The only white powder we acknowledge here is the one we got in trouble for many, many times bringing it up in the
We don't
morning.
need to bring that up.
So we're not going to bring it up right now.
No, we're not going to bring that
Sore
up.
subject.
Yes, it's a subject real quick. You see what I deal with Ahmed? Ahmed Fareed joins us here.
Wild
on the
card.
Boxer and Gerson guest line here. And, man, you know, these playoffs are great. A lot of people are saying, man, these are playoffs, but I enjoyed every last one of these games. What was a big takeaway for you? Because obviously you saw C.J. Stroud and the Browns. That was on your network. Of course, last night, the Lions and Rams. But I know you tapped into the Cowboys and Packers. What was the biggest takeaway for you this past weekend?
I mean, you're right. Because it's like they're blowouts, but they're compelling blowouts. To watch the Cowboys do that, hadn't lost at home. Not even hadn't lost at home all season. They haven't lost at home since week 1 of last season.
Wow.
Tom Brady. So, I mean, that's how crazy that one was for me. And then you're right. C.J. Stroud, seeing a rookie quarterback go in there and look nothing like a rookie quarterback. I do a podcast twice a week with Chris Sims, and he has just been stunned. He said this from week 3. He goes, I don't think I've ever seen a rookie quarterback play as well as C.J. Stroud. He makes no mistakes. He makes all the right throws, and we saw it again in the playoffs against statistically the number 1 defense in the NFL. So those games were unbelievable. And then, you know, I'm from Michigan. I grew up in Grand Rapids, 3 hours away from Detroit. It was amazing watching the Lions do what they did last night and the Rams. And I love Matthew Stafford for what he did for that franchise for so many years. But to see them get their first playoff victory in over 30 years was really special. So, I agree with you. You know, it's just like, I mean, I'm in it, but I think the playoffs have been super compelling so far.
You know, what's the common denominator for these quarterbacks? Because you're referencing C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love. You see this with Brock Purdy at times. I feel like the layered throws, the intermediate layered throws over defenders, but underneath the back end of a defense, or, you know, over the defensive linemen, but underneath the linebackers, or underneath the safeties, but over the linebackers. That's like the common denominator, whether it's Joe Burrow or the young guys that we're watching right now. I feel like that art is totally in vogue right now. And I watched Jordan Love yesterday. He had different arm angles. I mean, he was stepping up in the pocket and throwing guys open. Watching him and C.J. Stroud simultaneously this weekend was a revelation.
Yeah, it's like they see the field. It's like they've got really good anticipation, and you're right. They've got really good arm talent, and they can throw the heck out of the football. But I think the common denominator for those guys, too, is that they're in really, really good systems right now. Bobby Slowick, the offensive coordinator for Houston, came over from San Francisco. They coach those guys really well. Matt LaFleur, I love what he's done with Jordan Love, and we've seen what Brock Purdy has done with Kyle Shanahan, that combo. So, like, yeah, these guys are super talented, and they're also in a system that offensive lines that have protected these guys, Green Bay and Houston, have had good offensive lines, give them time back there, and then offensive coordinators that make the game a little simpler for these younger quarterbacks. Read half the field. Look for this. If this is there, throw it here. I think Kyle does a great job with that, and those two offensive coordinators for Green Bay and Houston do as well.
You know, I mean, watching Green Bay just dismantle the Dallas Cowboys, because we're all stunned. You mentioned it, undefeated at home. They were scoring damn near 40 at home in Jerry's world, and the way the Packers dismantled them with the run game. I always look at the situation in the playoffs, the trenches. Who's dominating the line of scrimmage? And for the most part, all the winners this weekend dominated the trenches here. Your initial thoughts on the Packers and Niners, because the Niners have struggled against the run over the last month of the season. That's due to Eric Armstead's absence. Apparently, he is back at practice. He's ready to go. What's your initial thoughts on Niners and Packers?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because Dallas, while their defense has been elite at times, and Micah Parsons might be the best defensive player in the NFL. I know Nick Bosa and fans there would argue with that, but Parsons has been awesome. they don't have a whole lot of size. It's like they're fast, they're not big. And I think that the Green Bay Packers, like you pointed out, were able to exploit that a little bit. The 49ers, the good thing that they have going for them is that they are fast and big, it seems like, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They got guys they can rotate in there. You got Chase Young now on the edge, and so it keeps them fresh. And so they've got a ton of bodies, a ton of big bodies. So it's not going to be as easy, obviously, for Green Bay to do what they did because I think Dallas is built more on the speed and less on the power. And I think you're right. That's one of the areas that Green Bay was able to exploit. But I do wonder, it's like you got this Packers team now, a ton of confidence goes in there. If they start the game hot, score early, like who knows? It always is kind of like that worrying thing of the rust versus rest. But Packers certainly come in hot, but they're definitely not going to be able to do some of the things they did against Dallas, against the 49ers.
You know, as a standalone game on a Saturday night, I feel like the entire country is going to be hyper-focused on Brock Purdy, like specifically Brock Purdy. There's been a few games this year that have been national, and he's exploded. But late in the year is kind of the last taste that America has had of Brock Purdy. And he was thoroughly outplayed by Lamar Jackson, and he looked the worst he's ever looked in a 49er uniform. We all know he's better than what he showed in that game. But from a national perspective, especially you doing the podcast with Chris Sims and working so closely with him, am I on this when it comes to Brock Purdy? Like, don't you feel like America's going to be leaning forward, really examining how he plays in this game?
100%. And I think that's the case with any quarterback in any game. I mean, we're still doing it with Dak Prescott, and he's been in the league forever, you know? And so it's just like we're looking at the quarterback position with that laser focus. I'm curious to see how he plays. Like, part of me is, like, over the whole, you know, is Brock Purdy elite? Is he not? Like, how much is him? How much is Kyle? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a team sport, and they're having success. And it doesn't at the end, it doesn't even matter why it's good. Is he one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL? Who cares? They're the top seed in the NFC, and they could win the Super Bowl with their current configuration right here. So I'm excited to see him. I mean, I like Brock Purdy a lot, and the story obviously is awesome. Nationally, you have the debates of how good is he, because that's what makes the whole thing run, and the debate shows run 24/7. I'm just excited to see how this team plays. And I think we saw with Cleveland, even though they fizzled out in the postseason, like that's a team that had a 38-year-old quarterback and an elite defense. And they could have made a run in different circumstances. 5 different starting quarterbacks for that team. That's what I like about the NFL, is that it's not cookie cutter. It's not just one size fits all. Yes, an elite quarterback certainly helps, but as we've seen with the 49ers, when you have elite everything else and your coach is super smart too, you can get by with a guy who makes all the right plays, but maybe wouldn't be able to do it without those pieces around them.
Ahmed Fareed here on the Morning Rush on the Boxer and Gerson guest line here, hosting Football Night in America for Maria Taylor, doing a hell of a job. And I thought you did an excellent job on the Peacock app. Saturday, Mahomes, Chiefs, Dolphins streaming on the over 23 million streamers up during that football game was insane. What's your thoughts going into that, knowing that, hey, we're going to have our own standalone show on NBC, and we're going to do our own thing here, but was there any worry through the NBC higher-ups? Because I'm at NBC now, and I know they were pushing it, Peacock, and you always wonder about the streaming, and Shask and I were just talking about it, saying, well, it wasn't a big deal because we've been streaming games on Amazon Prime. What was your thought process going into that as this game with Mahomes is streamed on an app?
Well, we were happy that people watched, because if they didn't, we wouldn't be around. We'd be gone.
No
They'd be like, we'd be gone. Like, sorry, thanks for playing. No, and like, I get it's obviously, we work at the company. It's a bigger deal for us, and we're super proud of it. And the fact that we were able to pull it off, and we're all sweating it. Like, can we even handle 23 million people on the Peacock app? I mean, I don't know. I trust all the people that run the thing. We're confident, and it works. So. Yeah, it was a bigger deal for us, and like I get it, right? It's like it's a whole lot easier just to turn on your TV and watch the game where you've been watching it all season long. But this is what I say: people started cutting the cord, and then we had to scramble. You know, we would have been okay with cable. We're a cable company for the rest of our lives, but no, it was cool to be part of something that has never happened before. I'm glad people found it, and it's just kind of like. That's the world that we live in right now, right? It's like, how are you going to deliver the game? Where are you going to get it? Can I get it on my phone? Can I put it on my smart TV too? And so I think as a company, I don't want to speak for NBC because I'm not in any of those meetings, but for us, it's just a changing landscape as the phrase goes. And so we were happy that when people got there, and like I was most proud of that people got there, and hopefully obviously enjoyed watching Patrick Mahomes, but enjoyed the production of it. And it was Mike there, and Mike is awesome. I don't know how he does what he does each and every weekend. So it was the quality of NBC. It just happened to be on the streaming service.
Totally with you on Tirico. I've been saying it for about 5 years with B. He's my favorite. Yeah. And when he wasn't doing football, I thought that it was doing the sport a disservice. I mean, the guy can do golf. He can do baseball. I know for a fact he can do basketball. He can do football. I mean, he's as talented as they come, and he tells a great story. Do you foresee, though, because I've been hypothesizing this, I think we're going to get pay-per-view Super Bowl, meaning it'll be behind a paywall of some sort, whether that be on an app or whatever. Like, I feel like that is coming in our lifetime. Yeah. Am I getting too out in front of myself?
I don't know. Like, I have heard people say that, and people connected with the NFL and how they think. I mean, they've prided themselves for so long on having the games widely available, free broadcast TV, and I think it's been a big part of their success, too. And so to throw that away, I think, Joe, that it would happen when we're already at like a critical mass of like that's where everyone is anyway. It's just like, it's we've put the Super Bowl on the streaming service, but guess what? Cable's no longer around, and that's the only way people watch things is now through Netflix or Peacock or Paramount Plus and what have you. So, like, I think it could happen, but it would only happen, and I think that's why the NFL is kind of experimenting with this, because if you fast forward in 10 years and this is basically how everyone's just watching everything is through these streaming services, the NFL wants to have an early footprint in that. So I think it could happen, but I think if it does happen, we're already wherever it's streaming in a pay-per-view kind of setting.
Speaking of streaming that Chiefs game, Chiefs-Dolphins, are we starting to sleep on the Chiefs? Because it felt like, I know they struggle with all the wide receiver drops and the offense wasn't humming, but that defense is pretty legit. And that defense can go anywhere and stop. I was so impressed with how physical they were against Tyreek Hill and that Miami Dolphins offense. Are we sleeping on them in the AFC?
I think probably, right? And it's like that happens when a story like it happens year after year. So it's like, okay, we're kind of like, we love Patrick Mahomes, but we're also kind of bored of it, and let's see what else is out there. You're right. It's like Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes, and I love the way that Isaiah Pacheco ran in that game, and Rashee Rice was like a dude, and I love both those guys. But you're right. The story for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' career in Kansas City has been the defense, and Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, they're dudes on the defensive side. Chris Jones is a dude. They're big, and they're fast. It's funny. I was watching the game with Chris Sims in studio, and he goes, it's something about the red uniforms for the Chiefs make them look smaller than they are. He was like, you'd be surprised if you were down on the field with the Chiefs. You're like, this is one of the biggest, most physical teams in football, and you don't think that when you think the Chiefs. You think Mahomes, and you think all the things they've done with the offense. But you're right. That defense can go toe-to-toe with basically any defense in the NFL.
All right, I got to squeeze one in. I've got to. You love baseball. I see you tweeting all the time with Giants fans.
Don't get us started.
No. It's okay. It's okay. I'm one of the disgruntled, okay? I freely admit it, all right? I'm out here, and I'm not happy with just a lot of what's going on with the organization. And to me, it starts with just a lack of a clear-cut plan. Like, I don't really understand what we're doing, and a lack of being bold when it comes to the trade market. Forget free agency. We're too obsessed with free agency. Trades. Where are you at with the Giants right now from afar? Am I being too critical?
Probably. But, like, that's the fun of it. Like that, like, we want our teams to make interesting moves that make us sit up in our seat and go, like, oh, I can't wait to see how this is going to turn out. Like, you're right. I do still follow the Giants, and I get involved sometimes, and I shouldn't do that.
Do you think we whine too much?
I'm not on the ground anymore. You got to be on the ground to be in the battle. But I always default to, like, no one's as dumb as we'd hope they'd be, right? It's like some of these moves that teams make or whatever, you're like, that sounds like an idiotic move. And then if you were in that seat, you'd be like, oh, I see how this is all playing out here. So I usually default, it's boring, but I usually default to giving some teams more of a benefit of the doubt than maybe I should. At the same time, I'm from Michigan. I'm a Detroit fan in all the sports, and I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. And I look at the problems that Giants fans are having, and I go, well, try to be a Tigers fan for maybe 10, 15 minutes. Like, these names of, like, who's that? Like, for 10 years, basically, we have not talked about any of that stuff. It's just been like, are any of our young homegrown talent guys going to do anything? And it's like, no, they're not. Do we have any money? No, we don't.
Torkelson.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say Spencer Torkelson.
Torkelson.
Yeah.
Petaluma.
We're still waiting on him.
Exactly.
Javi Baez in that ridiculous contract. Yeah, no, I do feel for him.
Exactly. There are problems here. So that would be my one retort is that Giants fans, it's like sometimes you get a little spoiled. I get it. It's like there's been a lot of success. There's a lot of money there. But put on the shoes of a Tigers fan for maybe a couple hours and you'll have maybe a little bit better perspective.
I'm going to be delusional now. You think Red Sox fans are looking at Tiger fans and that's how they're measuring themselves? Like we're looking at the West Coast Yankees, the Dodgers, and they're getting everybody, and that's your number one rival. Like I hear you. I just don't think that the comparison holds water. Like you've been lapped by the Padres and the D-backs, for Christ's sake. Yeah. You've won 3 championships this millennium.
But it's like, the Mets spent what, $320 million and got nothing. The
It's
Dodgers
not about spending.
I get it. It's like, and we want to feel like the team is set up for success in the offseason. It makes it the beginning of the season so much better. I get that, right? It's like, but we have seen in baseball that you throw it all out come October, even before the World Series. It's like, I don't know who's going to win it. I know the 2 teams who are in it. So baseball can be so random, and it's really a 26-man sport. More so than any other. I think it's more so than even foot. It's like maybe the NFL is up there and tied there too. But we've seen now with the Dodgers and the Rays, it's like you build a 26-man roster. It's not about 1, 2, or 3 guys. Angels have proven that over the last few years. So, no, I get it. Like Aaron Judge would be amazing to root for the Giants. Like no brainer. Like it's like if they could have made that happen. But here's the thing too: Yankees are thinking that, Cubs are thinking that, Mets are thinking that, and those dudes have a lot of money too. So.
Hey, real quick before we let you go on, man, we appreciate the time as always. I know you're a busy guy. You did a hell of a job this weekend with Chris Sims and Devin McCourty. He is so good on television as well.
Love him.
Real quick, 20 seconds or less. Bill Belichick to the Cowboys? What's next for that?
I think it's gonna. It just makes too much sense, right? It's just like, I get it. Like Jerry's a hard-headed guy, Bill's a hard-headed guy, but why not try to make it work? They're both getting up there. Like Jerry's definitely getting up there. Put your ego aside, get Bill there, and try to win it over the next couple of years.
Yeah, the other Bill there, Bill Parcells. Remember that? They had about 3 or 4 year run there down in Dallas.
That's the shelf life. I think in a situation like that with 2 strong-headed guys. But why not go for it? Take a chance.
Well, my guy Jonathan Sackey says hi. He speaks very well of you, man. Your grind, your story, man. You've done a great job, man. You're an inspiration to us all out here in the Bay Area. Man, keep killing it over there at NBC out there in the East Coast.
Guys, I love my time there. Thanks for having me on, and I'll talk whenever you guys want to talk.
Absolutely.
Have a good one, buddy.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the insight. I'm Ahmed Fareed here on the Boxer and Curzon guest line. Joining us on the road, said a lot there. So